Mr. President, we're at a crossroads. We've got a catastrophe that is looming for our planet. We have the world looking at the United States, wondering if we are going to lead. We have the Pope coming to the United States and speaking out on this issue. We have the world gathering in Paris this November, this December, discussing this issue, because it is now the focal point of the world, and that is the danger of ever-escalating, dangerous climate change, the warming of our planet, and the catastrophic consequences of the warming of our planet. The tides are rising, snows are melting. In other places, the snows are greater than they've ever been before. Climate change, dangerous climate change. That is what is happening. What is the response from the Republican side of the aisle? We hear nothing. We hear denial. We hear essentially an argument that it's not our responsibility to deal with it. But the Pope is asking us to be the leader. The world is asking us to be the leader. The young people in our country, the green generation, are asking us to be the leader. The United States is a technological giant. We have the capacity to invent the technologies that are going to radically reduce greenhouse gases, not only in our own country, but around the world. New renewable energy technologies, new battery technologies, new ways of generating electricity in the 21st century. We do not have to be tied to 19th century technologies, oil and coal. It's the 21st century. Now, in our country, in 2015 and 2016, we are going to generate 40,000 new megawatts of wind and solar. Now you say, well, what does that translate into? What is 40,000 megawatts? Well, if you think of all the nuclear power plants that have been constructed in our country over the last 70 years, we now have 100,000 megawatts of electricity coming from nuclear power. In these 2 years, 2015 and 2016, we're going to add 40,000 in wind and solar. The experts did not think this was possible 10 years ago. The experts would have said, oh, wind and solar, that's nice, but it can't replace the coal that we've always been relied upon to provide our electricity going back to the 19th century. Impossible, they say. No. This new generation is rising up. And what is doing it? Well, we've put tax breaks on the books now for wind and solar. We're giving them the same breaks that we always gave oil. We always gave coal. But what do we hear from the Republican Party? Should we eliminate the coal and oil tax breaks? Oh, no, you can't touch those. But when we say, well, let's renew the tax breaks for wind and solar, they say, yeah, it's time for us to now allow these new industries to go it alone. And that's been the problem all along. There isn't a level playing field. What we've done over the last 7 years is create a level playing field so the new energy technologies can compete against these old tax breaks for coal and oil that have been on the books for generations. We can do it. We can solve this problem. But you can't create an unlevel playing field. The same thing is true with automotive technologies. All of that CO2 coming out of automobiles, coming out of trucks. People said, you just have to live with it. The average for the vehicles that ordinary families drive in our country just 6 years ago was 25 miles a gallon. Essentially the same as 1975. The green generation, the young people in our country say, let's do better. Let's invent new technologies. Let's have electric cars. Let's have plug-in hybrids. Let's have just a generation of hybrids itself. No, says the industry. Too difficult. We can't figure it out. It'll cripple our industry. We passed new laws out here on the Senate floor, on the House floor. What has happened? We have a revolution in automotive technology. We have people now driving around in computers on wheels. The dashboard looks like it's a spaceship. The cars are infinitely more efficient, and we're heading towards 54.5 miles per gallon. What did the experts say 10 years ago? Impossible. We cannot do it. These are the same people who said to President Kennedy, we cannot put a man on the moon in 8 years. President Kennedy said, we do not go to the moon because it is easy. We go because it is hard. We are the United States of America. We will invent the new propulsion systems. We will invent the new metals. We will invent all of the things we need so that America dominates the Soviet Union and not the opposite. Well, the whole world is looking at this generation, this Senate. We have a plan. President Obama has a plan to control emissions coming out of the power plants of our country. Our plan is one that moves towards renewable energy and away from these smokestacks of CO2 going up into the atmosphere, creating a blanket that holds in the heat and continues to warm the planet dangerously. That's what greenhouse effect is. Just holds in the heat, all of this pollution. When we move towards solar, when we move towards wind, when we move towards geothermal, when we move towards all of the new technologies, the CO2 is cut radically, and the planet is able to breathe, and breathe in a way that says to generations to come that we will have left this planet better than it was before. That's what the Pope is going to come and talk to us about, dangerous climate change. That is what the Pope is going to come and ask the United States to be the leader and not the laggard, to not allow the deniers of climate change to dominate our debate in the United States of America, to not allow the technologies of the 19th century to dictate to the 21st century. Just 18 years ago, a small percentage of all Americans had a wireless device in their pocket. You want to know why? The experts said it was impossible. You can't do it. Today, everyone is walking around with one of these in their pockets, including 700 million people in Africa. We can do it. In Kenya, in Ethiopia, they're moving towards geothermal and solar and wind. They're skipping the landline delivery of telecommunications service in favor of wireless, and they're also skipping the landline system of generation of electricity and moving to renewables, not relying on coal, moving on to the new. Now, you can't eliminate it totally. You need some coal, you need some oil, but we can continue to reduce it year after year after year. What is the plan that we hear from the Republican Party? How do we reduce? How do we reduce the amount of greenhouse gases that we are going to be sending up into the atmosphere? What's their plan? They say President Obama's plan, they don't like it. Where's their plan? What are they going to do? What are they going to tell the green generation? All these pages on the floor representing tens of millions across our country. They're asking the question, where's the plan? How do we do this? How do we solve the problem? How do we invent the new technologies, as we did with wireless technology, and spread it across the planet? How do we do it for climate change as well? So that's going to be the essential debate. Shruggy says, I'm not happy. I'm sad. Where's the Republican emoji? Where's the one that says, we can do it? We're America. We're not going to allow the rest of the world to have a problem that the United States is going to exempt itself because it's the only country that's denying climate change. The United States Senate has a great responsibility. We have an opportunity to be the global leader. We can save all of creation while engaging in massive job creation here in America. We now have 100,000 clean energy jobs in Massachusetts. It's a big job creator. It's an employer of Americans all across our country. We have a chance to do something special. We can begin this transition in a much more serious way, away from coal, away from oil, and towards this renewable solar era of the 21st century. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. President, I yield back the balance of my time.